Dear faithful, we are Laetare Sunday, the fourth Sunday of Lent, and we read the Gospel according to St. John. At that time, Jesus went over the Sea of Galilee, which is that of Tiberias, and a great multitude followed him, because they saw the miracles which he did on them that were diseased. Jesus therefore went up into a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. Now the Pasch, the festival day of the Jews, was near at hand. When Jesus therefore had lifted up his eyes and seen that a very great multitude cometh to him, he said to Philip, "Whence shall we buy bread that these may eat?" And this he said to try him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 pennyworth of bread is not sufficient for them, that everyone may take a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, said to him, "There is a boy here that had 5 barley loaves and 2 fishes. But what are these among so many?" Then Jesus said, "Make the men sit down." Now there was much grass in the place. The men therefore sat down, in number about 5,000. And Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to them that were set down, in like manner also of the fishes, as much as they would. And when they were filled, he said to his disciples, "Gather up the fragments that remain, lest they be lost." They gathered up, therefore, and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves, which remained over and above to them that had eaten. Now those men, when they had seen what miracle Jesus had done, said, "This is of a truth the prophet that is to come into the world." Jesus, therefore, when he knew that they would come to take him by force and make him king, fled again into the mountain, himself alone. The faithful, it is Laetare Sunday. Rejoice. But we are quite sad that our church and all the churches in Belgium, but in many places in the world, are empty today. It is well open for private prayer, but there are no public masses. And it is a sadness. But we rejoice because we are mid-Lent. We already did half of it, and we still have another half to do. But also because you can follow the Mass, you can follow some sermon and adoration through video. It doesn't replace your presence at the Mass. But if it could help you to sanctify your Sunday, the day of the Lord, then it is already a great help. Now today I would like to develop 3 small subjects. First of all, we are still in Lent. It's not finished yet. Secondly, the need of the priest that we can feel even more now in these circumstances. And third, our desire for the Holy Eucharist. So first of all, we are still in Lent. We've done half of it. There is still another half to go. Lent is a preparation time for Easter. During this preparation time, we should do some penance, pray, and fast. You will say it's maybe easier to do some penance because of the circumstances, the coronavirus, we need to change our habits, and what will happen with my work, what will happen with my studies, the children stay home, we need to do school. There are a lot of penances. To adjust ourselves, let us try to carry our cross and our difficulties with our Lord Jesus Christ, who carried his cross until the end. He did not stop halfway. He went until the end. Lent is also a time of preparation for Easter through prayer. And maybe we have more time now to pray, to prepare ourselves, to take care of our spiritual life. Let us use it. That our Lent of 2020, a better Lent is than the other years. And also we should fast, and every day almost in the liturgy, the church reminds us how we should restrain ourselves from food and drink and comfort. Don't say, oh, I do penances enough with this coronavirus, and so I forget about fasting, I forget about the Lent. No, carry on until the end. That was the first point. We are still in Lent. Now the second point, we realize the need of the priest. Not the priest as a person, but the priest as the man of God. And without the priest, we cannot receive the sacraments. Without a priest, there is no baptism, there is no communion, there is no Holy Mass, there is no confession. I remember another priest, a young priest, we were together in the seminary, who told me, I had my vocation when I was with my family in a country where the priest could come only once a month. My dad was in the military, and we had to move very often. No, when we were on that particular place and the priest came only once a month, it was a joy when he was coming for a few days and we were going to the Mass every day. We tried to use it as much as we could. And I realized, young boy, oh, the priest was needed. And that gave me my vocation to become a priest. Now, myself, for 6 years, I had to take care of our mission of the Society St. Pius X in New Caledonia. There, we were going only every 6 weeks for 10 days. And the rest of the Sundays and the days, the people did not have any Mass. I was also in charge of our mission in Vanuatu, other islands in the Pacific Ocean, a little bit further, a lot poorer. People are very poor. They live without water, electricity, in bamboo huts. They cook on the ground, wood fire. And we were going there only twice a year. But when the priest came, it was a big feast. They stopped everything else. Even the teacher said to the students, oh, the priest is in your village. I don't go to school anymore for 10 days. Because the priest was there. Other people from other villages came to that village because the priest was there. Before we done the first Mass, everyone went to confession. And that took a long time. For them, the priest was with them. They would be able to receive the sacraments. Know that we cannot, you cannot go receive the sacrament, follow the Mass in person, then try to realize and to be aware of that need. Pray for more priests. Pray for you, priest. encourage vocations because it is really needed for the need of our souls. In Japan, the first missionaries arrived, and then they were forbidden to stay in the country for 200 years. And after 200 years, when the Catholic priests were allowed again, they found communities where people were baptized, where they were praying, they had the faith, they even had blessed water. Because maybe you know, if you've got such a quantity of water and you add less than half the quantity you have, then it remains blessed water. They kept the blessed water for 200 years. They were so eager to God and to have the priest back again. That was my second point. So the first one, it is Lent, and we still need to do our penance, prayers, and fasting until the end. But the second point, the need of the priest, and finally, the Holy Eucharist. Our desire must grow, our desire for the Holy Eucharist. And our Lord, to prepare this great miracle, His presence everywhere in the world, in the Holy Eucharist, in all tabernacles of the world, on every altar when the Catholic priest is doing his Holy Mass. It is the renewal of his sacrifice on the cross. And to prepare that Holy Eucharist, now, today, he is doing the multiplication of bread. He will do it 2 times. The first time, the Jews wanted to take him and to make him king. That is the gospel of today. And the second time, after the multiplication of the bread, he will explain to his disciples that now he will give his body, his flesh, to eat. And many left that day because they did not understand. They found it too hard. But yes, our Lord is giving us his flesh and his blood in the Holy Eucharist. Now, we need to be eager to receive him, to be with him. He has given absolutely everything for us through his sacrifice on the cross, which is renewed on the altar. For 50 years now, the Novus Ordo Missae, the new Mass, is the renewing of the last supper, a meal. But the Mass is way more than that. It is the offer of our Lord again on our altars. And the fruit of this offer is the Holy Eucharist that we can receive as a sacrament, as a food. Holy Eucharist that we can adore in the Blessed Sacrament. And that's the reason why we do the exposition of the Blessed Sacrament. That's the reason why we do the adoration of the Blessed Sacrament. But you will say, oh, I cannot receive communion today. No, not sacramentally, but you can receive it spiritually. And learn how to do spiritual communions everywhere you are or often you want during the day. You put yourself in the presence of God and you ask him to come into your soul in spiritual communion. And remain with him. Pray to stay out, to stay with him in all circumstances. So maybe this coronavirus would be or could be a blessing for us to be nearer God in this time, to learn or to refresh our faith. And to finish, I would like to use a prayer. There are so many in your Blau book, Christian Warfare, if you have it. about spiritual communion, the prayer of Saint Bonaventure. O sweetest Lord Jesus Christ, pierce, I beseech thee, the inmost marrow of my soul with a tender and life-giving wound of thy love, with true and calm and apostolic charity, so that my whole soul may ever languish and faint for love of thee, and for desire of thee alone. May it long for thee and pine for thee in the courts of thy house. May it desire to be dissolved and to be with thee. Grant that my soul may hunger for thee, thou bread of angels, thou refreshment of holy souls, our daily supersubstantial bread, having whole manner of sweetness and savour and all delights. May my heart ever hunger for thee and feed on thee, on whom angels long to look, and may my inmost soul be filled with the sweetness of the taste of thee. May it ever thirst for thee, thou well of life, thou fountain of wisdom and knowledge, thou source of everlasting light, thou torrent of pleasure, thou richness and abundance of the house of God. May it ever yearn toward thee, seek thee, find thee, tend toward thee, attain to thee, meditate ever on thee, speak of thee, and do all things to the praise and glory of thy name, with humility and discretion, with love and delight, with ready care and glad affection, with perseverance even to the end. And do thou be alone and evermore my hope, my whole trust, my riches, my delight, my joy, my rest and my tranquility, my peace and my sweet contentment, my fragrance and my sweetness, my food and my refreshment, my refuge and my help, my wisdom, my portion, my possession and my treasure, in whom my mind and my heart may ever remain fixed and firm, and rooted immovably for evermore. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. If faithful, you can follow on our YouTube channel the Holy Mass, 7:30 a.m. Belgian time, every day during this coronavirus time. And we will have also the adoration of the Blessed Sacrament every evening at 5 p.m. and a small predication on the Gospel of the day during this time of Lent. Let us be united to our Lord during this time more than ever.